So we've now heard about the PlayStation 5 somewhat. We've heard them talk a bit about, of course, that's going to use the AMD Navi chipset that they're coming up with, and it looks like that, of course, is going to be custom built for the PlayStation 5. And we also know, of course, AMD is building a chip for the next Xbox. Well, multiple Xboxes, so we'll get into that in a second, as we, of course, already know about that as well, that most likely Microsoft will launch with multiple SKUs, whereas there is a strong possibility that Sony might just launch with one. So a lot of things to kind of look at here, but there's an interesting rumor that's starting to make the rounds now, and it seems to be based on some actual material as we're going into E3, because I think, as well as I think several other people believe, we're probably going to see actual information, possibly even a box being presented at E3 for the next Xbox. Most likely, they'll show off Xbox Anaconda, which is the current code name for the very powerful Xbox for next generation, whereas there is a less powerful model codenamed Lockhart right now that may not get as much shine. It might, but most likely they're going to show like the beast, their beast of a system off, now that we've heard from Sony about the PS5 doing things like loading 19 times faster than a PlayStation 4 as an example. But it seems that rumors are now circulating that point to the next Xbox, so the Anaconda is what we assume it will be, is going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 5. In fact, people seem very, very confident in this, but there's not really an explanation as to why they're very confident in this, just that it appears that it will be more powerful. Now, this started to make the rounds and turning into articles like these, for example, from this one's from comicbook.com, and then it made the rounds to several other websites, and it seemed to start with Ainsley Bowden here, who talks about the PS5 hardware details that we've seen, of course, or what we were hoping for. But multiple insiders have now confirmed it's true Xbox Anaconda will be more advanced as rumored. And of course, that means a lot. I mean, great things for us, as they're saying, for fans, because we're going to get some cool technology and some pretty cool systems, we assume, next year, 2020. When in 2020? Well, that's still up for debate. It could be a spring launch like the Switch has done very successfully, obviously, or it could end up just waiting to the holidays 2020 as well. Also very possible. I think we'll find out a lot more at E3 with Microsoft pushing ahead. In fact, I think we heard about the PS5 when we did, because I think Sony expects Microsoft to talk a bit more. And if anything, Sony's their interview that they put out with Mark Cerny put some pressure on Microsoft, I would say, to show up to E3 with a good show, and of course to show off their next system, their next Xbox. So the interesting thing about this is no one is saying why they believe it to be more powerful, but they all seem very, very convinced that it is. Now, this was sent over to me by a few people on Twitter, and it seems to be people on different forums kind of passing around information. I have an example here, and it's kind of being passed around quietly, and I think it will probably eventually leak online. Here's an example, and this is other forums as well, but here's an example on just on Reset Era, where they talk here about information that does point to it, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'll give a few examples, but here's, for example, the user with the handle here, Clobril, actually says they have proof. I've sent proof as to why I know Anaconda aims to be the better performing device, and they actually apparently passed on to Nibble, who most likely you might even follow Nibble on Twitter. And they are now convinced, Nibble is, that they sent something they can't elaborate on for security reasons, but it does appear to be legit to the best of my knowledge. Again, pointing to Anaconda being more powerful than the PlayStation 5. Now, I'm not surprised to hear this information that the next Xbox would be more powerful than the PS5, mostly because I think Microsoft's going to do a tiered release where they have multiple SKUs, whereas I don't know if the PS5 will, because Sony might not want to do multiple SKUs at that point, because they might want to do a hardware refresh, even like we've seen with the PS4 Pro. But I think multiple SKUs could work to possibly confuse consumers, and that's something Sony might be looking at, because then when you have a PS5 and then a PS5 Pro, Sony's been pretty good about, very traditional about naming their systems, and they're coming up with the PS5, whereas Microsoft's probably going to have all kinds of names for their their Xbox systems. So I'm trying to figure out what they saw that makes them believe, because that means that they would have to have, you'd probably have to have some information about the next PlayStation 5. We don't know a lot about the PS5. They left some information out, and I think that was on purpose. We don't know anything about the chip outside of it being from AMD and it being obviously based on Navi, which is fine because we don't even know that much about that other than it's a 7 nanometer fabrication and everything. So what could they have seen? Well, I'll give you a few ideas here. One, the easiest number that I think people look at and they say, whoa, that's amazing, and it's something that there's a lot of argument around too, is the amount of RAM in a system. I think there's a possibility that maybe targeted RAM specs or belief as to how much RAM is in like Anaconda might be making the rounds, and that might be setting off some alarm bells for people. Like, it's so much that it makes no sense and it sounds insane. That's very possible. Like, let's say most people, I think, would believe that it would be anywhere from 12 to 16 gigabytes of memory, RAM, for next-gen systems. I think the PlayStation 5 will sit right in there, 12 to 16, maybe 12, and then some DDR4 memory on the side for the OS. That's very possible. They've done that in the PlayStation 4 Pro with a gigabyte of DDR3, just kind of off to the side for the OS to load. So let's say that the number getting thrown around for the Xbox Anaconda is 24 to 32. That would make some people go, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, there's something there. The other thing I thought about, because again, I don't think we know enough about chipsets or anything like that. You couldn't even make that comparison if you wanted to with the PS5, just because we don't have as much information out there about Navi, and we definitely don't have enough information about the PS5 to compare then to the Xbox Anaconda. It's just not something we could do. The other thing could possibly be price. And that's something that we've talked about before in the past. People bring it up a lot, and that is perceived value through price. So there is a thought process around the PS5's launch price somehow making it in at $400. That is a possibility. It could end up being $500 if there's just no way to get it there and they don't want to cut out a lot to get there. Maybe they'd rather launch at $500, but that might put them at a disadvantage if Microsoft decides to launch with a tiered system and they can get one in at $400, or even have one just match them completely. So, the Xbox Anaconda. Let's say it comes out and it's straight up $600. All right, let's just be real first. It's $600 to $700. Would that make you believe that it is more powerful than the PlayStation 5? Most people would probably say yes, because it's a more expensive system. You expect better components. Let's say it doesn't have a Kinect or anything crazy in it. Let's say it is $600 to $700. Would that make you immediately go, yes, that is the more powerful system compared to the PS5, which might be $400 to $500? I've mostly been trying to think of what people are seeing right now that is making them believe this, since we've heard ray tracing for the PS5, we've heard solid state drive being installed at this point, and we've heard Navi being used and utilized in the system. The only thing that they didn't really talk about, of course, was maybe some baked-in things, like Microsoft baked in DirectX 12, as an example, to the Xbox One, and that did help it. Xbox One X, remember, they made that like a hardware level thing so that you had 4K running really, really well with like Forza, for example. Maybe there's something there with that. But I was trying to think of the hard numbers, ones that would blow people away, because we're just not that educated on Navi at this point, or what it can really do in a setting like that with game consoles. So those are the things I could think of, RAM and pricing. But I want to know what you guys think, and if you have an idea as to what's going on here and you want to anonymously let me know, you can reach me on Twitter. You can message me there, or you can also email me as well. The email is in the Twitter bio as well. You can do that if you'd like to put some information out there anonymously, and I'll see if I can vet it myself before I would put it in a video. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you think about this situation down below with the Xbox Anaconda somehow being more powerful again before we've seen it, but something out there that is apparently blowing away people ahead of its reveal that we assume is E3. The good news is E3 is like what, a month and a half, a month and 3/4 away. So we don't have to wait long. In fact, I bet you Microsoft releases some sort of video weeks ahead of time that starts to tease the reveal of at least one of these systems. And then things are going to get really fun after E3 as we make a sprint or a dash to these things being released, I guess, in 2020. But that build-up will be fun because we'll get all kinds of cool information and it'll be a good time. But let me know what you guys think about this situation down below about the Anaconda and what you think makes it that much more powerful. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, guys. Dislike it if not, and I'll see you in the next video.